Welcome to Metals, Money, and Markets. We're November 16th. From MiningClips.com, I'm Rob Goodman. As always, Mickey Fulp, the Mercenary Geologist, will run us through it. Okay, Mickey, up and down week here. Down dollar means up gold. Let's start there. We're a little rebound here in the metal sector.
Yeah, this week really showed us how dependent the price of gold is on the U.S. dollar. U.S. dollar midweek was up to, I think, about 97.4, which is pushing the 52-week high. But it came down over the last couple of days, and of course, gold rallied from its low of about 12.02. It finished at 12.23 for well over 1% gain. Silver had a nice week, up 1.5%. 28 cents to 14.39. Platinum lost a bit, down $9 to 8.43. And meanwhile, palladium hit its all-time high yesterday and did better today. It finished at 11.60, up well over 5% on the week. And as I said, all-time high.
And copper kept up that as well.
Copper fell on Monday to 275, but then it had 4 days of gains, closed at 279, up 1.5% for the first time for quite some time. I don't know when it was. We're in front month contango. We're actually in contango 2 or 3 or 4 months out, and although it's very weak, but it was in radical backwardation for so long. So that's good news for the copper front. One thing I should mention is BDI, the Baltic Dry Index, has cratered over the last month. It's down to 1,000. Not too long ago, we were talking about yearly highs of 1,700. That does not bode well for the majority of bulk cargo, which is iron ore and coking coal.
And shifting gears to energy, uranium hanging in there, but boy, I tell you, oil in free fall here.
Yeah, let's talk about uranium first. It marches on since late April. It's up from $20.50, closed yesterday at 2019. So that's 42% rise in 7 months, something like that. Pretty impressive. Long way to go, as we've talked about before. Meanwhile, oil just had another brutal week. It's been down 6 weeks in a row, from a high of about 74 and change, now closed today at 56.80. That's quite a drop. It's really oversold, and that's after being up the last couple of days. Not a lot of good news from the oil front, though. Rigs +1, that's neutral. U.S. production up to 11.7 million barrels a day, all-time record. Inventories continue to weigh on the market. Another 10 million barrels of oil, and U.S. inventories are up 10% since late September, so that really is weighed on WTI. Meanwhile, we got OPEC and the Russians vacillating on production cuts, and the Saudis are reportedly very unhappy with Trump's tariff waivers on Iranian oil sanctions. He's given those to 8 countries, and I have no idea why he's doing what he's doing, but doesn't make a lot of sense to put sanctions on a country and then give waivers to its 8 largest oil buyers. And finally, in the energy markets, not usually on our list of things to talk about, but natural gas on Wednesday hit a high since January 2014, when the polar vortex hit the northeast tier of states, up to $4.80. A lot of this has to do with cold weather, but also seasonal low inventories, 15-year lows. So nat gas market always very volatile, but that's a pretty impressive run from less than $3 a million BTU a couple of months ago.
And shifting gears to currencies, we got here, as you mentioned, dollar pulled back, euro the biggest benefactor.
Yeah, the dollar was up quite boisterously for the first 3 days of the week, basically on a very weak euro and Brexit problems, so the pounds dropped. But it came back down to earth. It got certainly overbought, in my opinion. went well over 97. 10-year Treasury was off a little bit. Dollar finished down a bit, 96.44 for a 0.5% loss. Euro up to 114 and change. Loonie 76. So those two up, dollar down, usual paradigm.
Wrapping up here, these equities markets. Red this week, gave back some from last week, but a little rally today, but across the board off.
Yeah, U.S. markets basically had a rough week, and they gave back essentially what they gained last week. VIX around 20. That seems to be pretty usual for the last month or so. But really, U.S. markets are reacting as Trump's tariff talks turn. He said today he was going to postpone more sanctions on China. That caused a market rally. Meanwhile, tech stocks got hit pretty good. Earnings from a couple of companies were unimpressive to the market. Let's go through the numbers. Dow 2514, down 2% on the week. S&P 500 2736, down 1.5%. Nasdaq down 2.1%, 7248.
And meanwhile, the venture had a rough go at it.
It did, but before we get there, I want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin, another thing we don't talk about very often. Hit a 14-month low on Wednesday, around 5,500. Net short traders are coming in like gangbusters. Looks to me like the Bitcoin bubble has burst. And finally, Toronto Venture Exchange going down, 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 down. Old Freddie King song. Last 2 days, yearly low volumes. Closed the week at 625, down over 4%. And we still haven't got to the bottom of tax loss selling.
All right. Thanks for the good news on that. As always, appreciate the insight, Mickey, and certainly look forward to catching you next week.
All right. Thanks a lot, Rob.